Good evening, everyone. This is Board of Sewer Commissioners meeting for September 28th. Have a roll call.
Donna Brock?
Peter Dunlop?
Jim Gibberti, present, okay. And the first thing we've got is the approval of the minutes of the 14th of September.
Move that we approve the minutes of the meeting of September 14, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Citizens' participation. Do you, you want to come up to the, do you want to come up to the,
No, I'm fine.
okay.
Do you want to speak? No, I'm fine. Oh, okay.
All right, then if we don't have any participation, we will move forward. We have got some abatements. First one on the agenda is for Frank's Way. Abatement in the amount of $198.68 for the first half of the FY18 sewer usage bill. Water service to the property was turned off in March of 16. And the amount is for the months of April through July of 17. Comments, questions?
They asked for $298, but we're only giving them $198, and the reason is the water wasn't shut off in time.
This was good here, the water was shut off on March of 16, so it has to be off until March of 17.
You want to weigh in on that one, Guy?
Sorry?
Is there a reason why we're not giving them the $298?
The reason would be, the water has to be out for a year per policy, so the water went off in March of 2016, March of 2017, completes
Okay.
the year, then everything forward, which come up to 198.68.
I'll check that policy.
Okay.
I move that we approve $198 for 6 Frank's Way as recommended by the sewer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, done, unanimous.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay, now we have one that looks like these are, actually, it's two.
3035.
This is from two applications for abatements, one each building and demolition permit, and it's enclosed. Building was demolished the same day as the demolition permit was issued. Building was vacated in April 17 due to closure of the Hong Kong Island. Building was demolished on June 12th. Requesting
4967.
Yep.
I make a motion that we approve it.
Which one are you on?
3035 Cranberry Highway.
Yeah, but both of them are.
Yep.
Okay.
There were two for 30, the property in question was a restaurant with an apartment over top. So
Yeah.
there are two separate accounts. So here's the cover letter, and then you'll see one abatement for $546
Yep.
and change, and then you'll see another one for $49 and change reflecting each account.
Okay.
I only have the one.
It should be, did you get the cover letter with the lawyer's cover letter? Flip that open, there should be one underneath it.
I didn't get it. Site. Nope, I did not get it.
Here.
I'll look another package.
Oh,
You should
hold
have it.
on a second. I did get it, I'm sorry.
We have a motion on these two items.
I move that we approve these applications as supplied by the... Well, go ahead.
Why wouldn't the 1 year apply to this?
Well, service was on, the building was operable, they could use the building. The purchaser of the property decided to demo it for a parking lot. So because the water was on up until that point, once it was demoed, he come in, he cut the water, cut the sewer, demoed it, and then he's entitled to forward, but not back.
But the 1 year doesn't apply?
No, because if the water had been off for 2 years or a year or whatever, then it would be 1 year on. But this is a demo, which isn't a water use, it's demo. The day they demo it, it was an active account. The
If the
day they
bu-
demo it, we move forward.
The 1 year applies to buildings that are still
Yeah.
in existence, can be reused.
That are still
but they're
reused, yeah.
moved
This is
back
a
in, but
demolition
this
one.
was This was a demolition, so there's nothing there to move back into.
I make a motion that we approve the abatement for in the amount of $546.33 and in the amount of, what was the other one? 49.67 to, what is it, Waterwiz is it going back to?
Waterways is the owner of the property, yes.
Right. As approved by the superintendent.
Second, Peter?
No.
It would
Okay.
officially be RMRM Realty LLC is the official
Okay.
designation of the application.
I don't understand this 546.33.
Because it
The
was,
first half of the FY18 sewer bill.
oh, that's because it's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
They had different
and
it's
you
not a
use
single E
as
EDU.
Seats and all, the bill could have been, so if it's a half 5,000, the bill could have been 2,000 something every half year, so you apply that rate. So if this is 596 for half year, then you can extrapolate the numbers. But it's a restaurant, and the EDU is one EDU per 12 seats. And so it was a,
Which
sorry?
one? What meeting?
No, I'm sorry, we were supposed to be here last night, we missed the meeting, I thought it was tonight, it was last night.
Oh, no, this is sewer commissioners.
Right,
Okay, no problem.
have a nice night. Yep, have a nice night. I'm sorry? Probably a week from last night would be the next meeting, I believe. I think they meet each week.
Call and check, yeah.
All right. Look on the town website, and they'll post it. The town website, they'll post the meetings.
The zoning.
Go on the town website and find it, they'll tell you. They'll tell you, go to zoning, town website, look it up, they give you the date, what's on the agenda at the time, so I'd go there to get it.
Okay, I've got a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Excellent, thank you.
3 zip on both.
Okay, no.
Have a nice night.
Now, Guy, you in center stage again.
I have no report, it's been a crazy week. I've got a lot of stuff I'll bring to the next meeting.
That's a good report.
Oh, but
Boy, he's looking down, giving us, okay, we did not receive the update on the policies, so we can't do anything there. Anything you need to bring up, Donna?
No, I don't have any new business.
Okay, Peter?
Nope.
Finished, okay. Got an agreement here for Abrams Group. I thought we were already had one with them.
So this is a work canoe agreement. This is the IMA working with the town of Bourne. They're CPAs and reviewing and setting up chart of accounts, reviewing it from a CPA's point of view as the billing process. And so Bourne is in the middle of doing that, and we hired Mr. Abraham to be our representative to that meeting with Bourne to go over the accounting practices and audit from the town of Bourne's auditors. So this is the contract. I think you should have the contract itself, and then there's approval from Mr. Bowen. Now it's in front of the board. We'd like to have a meeting as soon as we can with the town of Bourne. Mr. Abraham's the town of Bourne. They're actually their firm that they hired.
Abrams, yeah.
The Abrams Group with their
Yeah.
firm.
I don't see the price here. Where is it?
Last page,
Oh, thank you, Ross.
It's an hourly rate,
Oh, it's an hourly rate?
125 an hour.
$125 an hour.
Shouldn't we be setting a not to exceed number on hours? And if that's necessary to go over, we can revisit it?
I think if we just keep an eye on it, Mr. Sullivan's actively involved in this.
I know, I spoke with him today.
So I think that the due diligence, Mr. Sullivan's going to regulate his time, I think we'll be fine.
I just hate open-ended things like this. Hey. Comments, complaints, criticisms, add-ons, subtractions.
Have they done this for us before?
They actually did, Abraham's group has done the review of the IMA, the agreement. They've also done the budget for us. We presented the sewer commission with an actual budget, retained earnings, and what we had, all the findings we had in the bank. So yes, they've worked for us before, and they've worked on the IMA as far as
Yeah, but what
reviewing it, and they
The
worked
si-
on
Yeah, but the situation here is a little different. The situation here,
This here's different.
this here is different. This has nothing to do with all that. What this has to do with is the fact that Bourne doesn't believe all of the numbers. They're having their people investigate all of the numbers to come up with whether or not they really owe what we
Do they
billed
pay
them.
half of it, or do we have to pay the entire full share?
No,
This is all ours because they've got their own that's starting it. This is basically the watchdog for us.
So we pay somebody else to do this?
Pardon me?
So we pay someone to come in and do this? We can't do it with our administrative staff that we have?
No, not
No,
with this.
okay, all right. No, I'm
No,
just curious.
that's all, not with this particular
This
issue.
is- Bourne's
We don't
audit
have- we don't
found
have the
3 areas
ability.
of concern. And
What?
Bourne's audit found 3 areas of concern. And so we're looking at those areas of concern. That's what Mr. Abraham's going to do.
Okay.
Was there any,
Can we see Bourne's audit?
I don't have it yet.
I don't think they've done it yet, have they? They haven't done it yet.
There's a
They're working
draft,
on it,
so
but
the
they haven't done
auditors-
it.
No, we've met with the auditors multiple times. We went over, they've got all the information. It's just that what it's becoming is the
Fishing contest.
IMA was written by engineers.
Gee, what
Bourne is
happens?
challenging, because their engineers wrote the IMA, the billing portion of it. They hired a CPA who is money, and so there's a conflict in the interpretation. So to protect us, we hired a CPA, Mr. Abrahams, so his interpretation would be
Abrams.
with Mr. Abrahams. He likes Abraham, but his interpretation would be CPA for CPA. So we have our engineers, they have their engineers, but at this point, it doesn't make any sense for engineers to be involved because they wrote the original thing, and CPAs interpret it different than the implications by the engineers. And so Mr. Abrams is going to vet all that. Mr. Abrams is going to vet all this with their CPA.
I just have a problem because being a very small part of this initially, there was a considerable amount of things that we found that Bourne wasn't following through with.
We
Have-
haven't even got there yet, because I gotta be blunt on it, we haven't even got the negotiations of the new IMA.
Donna, this doesn't
And
have
all that
anything
would
to do
happen.
with that.
Oh,
This doesn't have anything to do with that.
This
This
is
has
just
to
an
do
audit.
with what we have billed them over the last 3 years.
oh, gotcha.
They think
It's just billing,
They
okay.
think it's out of line. They want justification on the monies that we bill them, where we come up with the figures.
When are we ever
So-
gonna get to the, where they're not following the agreement?
Yeah, that's another issue.
That's a whole separate discussion, but we've got to get,
It's costing us money. I mean, we've been talking about this for 2 years and
Well-
nothing's been done.
Well, in the conversation with the auditors, they've agreed that the challenges we made, Bourne would definitely have to pay, but we're not there yet. And so Bourne is challenging the language of the IMA. They're challenged it by a CPA, and they're challenging the language that an engineer wrote. So we had our engineers originally. So at this point in time, it makes no sense to have any discussion with our engineers and their CPA. So our CPA, Mr. Abrams, who read the IMA, who's been involved, so it's, at this point in time, it makes all the sense to have our CPA discuss with their CPA in an interpretation of a document written by engineers. And that's the crux of the matter.
So in other words, nothing has been done to compensate Wareham for the things that have not been followed through by Bourne. Wareham's just taking it on the cuff every year? I mean, that's ridiculous. The Wareham sewer payers have a right to more than that, Mr. Chairman.
I don't disagree with you. However, we're not, as I said, we haven't got into that discussion with them. We've had the discussion here, but we have had no discussion across with Bourne because they still don't believe that we're charging appropriately based on the contract, or based on the agreement that's in existence at the time, and granted that the existence at the time isn't what we think it should be now. I think there are things that are missing in it
Our auditor
that should have
feels
been put in.
Our auditor feels that it's correct, theirs doesn't. So let the auditors hash it out.
So they've got to get that straightened out.
At
and
the
then,
user's expense.
Correct.
Absolutely, always at the
I think it
user's
is,
expense.
But our auditors feel that it's proper, everything we did is proper, they have no issues, they did the audit. Their auditors are saying, well, it should be 2 employees, not 4, it should be 1 employee, and so it's interpretation. So let's let them do their job. That's where we are with this contract.
Let them
unfortunately.
do their job at our expense. Yeah,
I-
sure, why not?
unfortunately, I
The
don't think-
taxpayers are paying for it, the sewer users.
So, do I understand this now? We have their engineers and our engineers, and they don't agree. And now we're gonna have our CPA and their CPA, and they don't agree, and we expect it to go forward somehow.
I don't
So,
know, the engineers aren't involved in this.
Engineers
This
are
has
no
nothing
longer-
I
to do
thought
with
they're the
it.
ones that wrote the IMA.
No, they have nothing to do with this.
They wrote the billing. The engineers wrote the billing. It was reviewed by auditors who do not agree with the numbers. They don't agree with the process. It's a question of how many employees working on commonalities and this type of thing. So as a
Did the
CPA
engineers agree?
The engineers are been done a long time ago. Yes, they agree they're done a long time ago.
And
Now, as the auditors looking at it financially from CPA point of view, I guess they're trained accountants, they have a different take on it. So our auditors, our CPA looked at it and says, no, according to what's on the IMA, we're fine. Their interpretation is, well, we're not quite sure this is and this. So our auditors are gonna sit down with them and lets them hash it out. Because now it's in their hands because it's their language. It's not my language, it's not my engineer's language, not your language, it is their language, and let them do their job. So that's why we hired Mr. Abrahams, who comes highly recommended, is very qualified, and I think he can do the job for us.
but why should they go along with them?
Well, it's a question of what ours says and theirs says, then the debate continues. If we can't come to any agreement, then everybody has to get involved, and some agreement has to
The
be
next
reached,
5 years, if we
compromise,
can't get
whatever.
through.
So, I mean, that's how
We're looking for
negotiations
that
go.
because we've got the,
That's how negotiations go. And
How long has this been going on?
this just started, I think the original audit started in last February. We did the audit, all winter we did the audit. They just presented it to the town, and now the town said, okay, great, so we're going to challenge some issues, and we're going to figure out where we're gonna go.
But we haven't done a thing yet to make sure that they're adhering to what's written there. There's several things that they haven't been,
That was
We're
what-
gonna let the auditors and as it builds up and builds up, and again, the sewer ratepayers are paying for this.
If you look at the IMA that was agreed upon long before we became
I
involved.
did.
And if you looked at the formula in the back on how they calculate, you gotta be a Chinese genius. Go
But they're
through it.
not following,
That's-
they're
that's
not
where part-
following
that's where
their
the-
agreement on what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, I don't know, I can't answer that. I'm not-
I sat in a meeting 2 years ago, it seems like, that, no, they're not doing it. We sat with Mr. Bowen. He was excited. It's gone nowhere. Nothing goes anywhere here.
And the IMA, to your point, is handled by the selectmen, because we have no jurisdiction over the IMA, it's their baby. And so we have to wait upon them to decide when to negotiate the IMA. This new monkey wrench by Bourne challenging the language and the billing process still means we have to do our due diligence, and we still have to vet that out, so we're doing our due diligence. When it comes to the IMA exact, it's nothing to do with us. All IMAs that we enter into are written and endorsed by the Board of Selectmen. There's no authority by this board to enter into any agreement.
Why
It's
should
only
the
Board of
people be
Selectmen.
continuously paying when people aren't enforcing it? That's what goes up me sideways, and it's wrong, because nobody's doing anything. The selectmen are doing nothing about this that I'm aware of. I don't see any change on the billing. I don't see anything. I just think it's wrong what's happening to the ratepayers.
And nothing-
I truly do.
At this point, nothing is gonna happen until this audit gets taken care of, until this gets finished.
Now, nothing's ever gonna happen.
But,
I disagree with that, Donna.
well, I hear what you're saying, Jimmy, nothing's gonna happen, but if their CPA says one thing and our CPA says another, what have we accomplished?
Well, then it goes to then at that point, it would go to a hearing, or a
Then what do we need,
negotiation.
then what do we need the CPA for?
I said, why don't we don't get the ZBA, just tell them whatever you want, we'll give you. We'll
No,
go by
no,
your
no,
CPA.
what I'm saying is, if they've already done this report and said they don't agree,
So our CPA is gonna say it's correct, the billing has been correct. So we need our CPA to go back to their CPA and say, we've vetted this document, and no, you're incorrect. This is applied by this language, not by this language.
oh, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Guy,
so I-
but you're
I
getting
understand
two
your
people
question.
that are saying two different things, so what are we accomplishing?
Nothing.
Well, we want them to.
We need somebody to decide who's right and who's wrong here.
But there's no one. Our CPA is just engaged in this. Our CPA did our billing and said it's correct. Their CPA says it isn't. Our CPA has talked to their CPA to verify why he says it's correct, and then so. But
You're
my
saying
point-
the same thing over and
Yes.
over.
But what I'm saying to you is, what's the option? We can just cancel everything. What's the option? You're giving me.
Get somebody to make a decision.
Well, then, that decision, any decision the IMA is made by the Board of
Like you said,
Selectmen.
it's the Board of Selectmen are making that
There's no
decision.
decision ever made here about the IMA, none. So we can debate this
I'm
in
not-
circles all day long and nothing's
No,
gonna
he's
happen.
right, he's right. Nothing is gonna get done, but I think the ratepayers need to know that nothing's getting done, and people are sitting on this and doing nothing.
Well, what are we paying $125 an hour for?
Well, they're doing their job,
We have to
The
do the job.
accountant's doing their job. I mean, it's just politics,
It just
Peter.
has to be done. I mean,
Just
we have
politics.
to answer. We can't, if somebody sent you a letter, an audit, you can say, I disagree, but I'm no sense in fighting you. We'll just, and then say you disagree and they agree, so we'll arbitrate it. No, you're gonna continue to advocate for your point. And that's what we're doing. We have an advocate
This
who's
bo-
going to say, this is what I'm finding. No, you are incorrect, you're correct. I'm advocating for the town of Wareham. They have their advocate, he's our advocate, and they need to sit down and discuss it.
What it boils down to is we've got an IMA that they disagree with the way it's being billed. The other comments and questions you've got are separate and distinct from this particular issue. Okay, and I'm not throwing them under the bus or anything like that, Donna.
No, I'm
I'm
not
just
gonna throw
saying-
me under the
I'm
bus.
just saying, we're just dealing with this particular issue right at the moment. The
But
particular
wait-
issue, wait a minute, the particular issue is they disagree with the way they've been billed. They're doing an audit and taking
Okay.
our figures to look at it to see what it comes up with. Abrams is supposedly going to become our watchdog and explain to them where they're right or they're wrong. Now, we may not be 100% right in this. We may have some errors that have occurred and creeped in over time that have resulted, and they may have a point. This we don't know until the two of them work it out and come back to us with both plans and say, this is what
But they've
happened.
been doing that since
No, they
February.
haven't been doing it. They have,
Bourne's been doing it.
first of all,
Wareham has done
yeah,
nothing.
where we haven't done anything.
Wareham, Bourne has.
Where Bourne's been doing whatever they've been doing, and I don't know what they've been doing exactly.
So Abrams hasn't seen Bourne's report?
No.
Well, I'm not disputing,
We haven't seen a complete report, no.
I'm
A
not dis-
report went to the town administrator.
I'm not disputing what Mr. Abrams is doing. He's a very reputable company. I have no problems with him. What I have problems with is the thousands of dollars that you pointed out to me that we're losing because we're not enforcing or making sure that Bourne is enforcing their part of the act. I think this whole IMA situation is just,
The auditors agreed that we're owed that money. They definitely agreed to that.
that we're owed that money.
Absolutely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The Bourne auditor agreed that Bourne owes us that money for many years. There's no
Okay.
dispute there. But that's all gonna come out when we do the actual IMA. When we do the IMA, we'll apply that. But this, we have to do at this moment is challenge their question about personnel use. When they go to what pump station, do we pay for 2 uniforms or 5 uniforms? We think we should pay for 2 uniforms, not 5. We think we should pay for 1 phone, not 3, and that's what we're trying to vet.
Okay, I mean, I'm not gonna argue it further, it's just that it's very frustrating to me, trying to sit here and represent the ratepayers of the town, when I see these things that just aren't getting done, it's frustrating. And I'm one of those ratepayers.
And we want it
And
right.
yours is going up.
If there's a mistake made by our
Probably.
part, we want it right. The bottom line is whatever we do, we want it right. And so we'll let these two folks sit down, these two reputable groups, and decide where we really need to be. And I think that's where we are with it, this particular contract.
Mr. Chairman, I have no problem with the contract with the Abrams Group. I have no problem with that contract. I just have a whole problem with the entire process, and I'm not gonna say another word about it. I've said enough.
And keep in mind, this
Don't make
IMA
it
is
sound
not
like you're the
just-
only one, Don.
No, I'm just,
I understand.
I'm just frustrated. We have no rates, no new rates that we promised. We have no IMA that's done. I just don't see what we're accomplishing.
Can I get a motion on this thing?
I make a motion that we approve the Abrams contract. Are you awake?
Just thinking.
Oh, you're thinking? I didn't know. I made a motion.
I don't see what it's gonna accomplish.
Well, like I said, it's got nothing to do with, well, we have to
If you
answer.
get two CPAs that are gonna disagree, well, and
No, we have one that
Well,
disagrees, one.
I'm
Now we have to prove our points, that's
I'm
all.
not gonna make the assumption.
Come to a reasonable agreement,
Right.
so that you're talking about reasonable people. If they're not reasonable, then I agree. Reasonable people don't agree. But reasonable people, they'll find some common ground, and they'll come to some conclusion. And that's what we're hoping for. That's the best we can do, is to allow the reasonability to take over. I mean, that's just the bottom line. There's no other way to look at it.
Motion's on the table.
Do I understand on item 6 that they are going to be conceivably rewriting the IMA
It's conceivable,
or recommending a rewriting of it?
it's conceivable.
Okay.
They may decide to rewrite the IMA billing per CPA language opposed to engineering language. That's conceivable.
Well,
If they do recommend
if
that,
we
that's
can't write IMAs,
No, it would go to their board of selectmen. our
just
board
a
of
second,
selectmen.
please. If this board can't write IMAs, and that has to be done by the selectmen, why don't these people work for the selectmen?
What people?
Abrams Group.
They work for us because we're the enterprise. They're working for the enterprise.
But if they're working for us, they can't write the IMA.
The IMA is not the issue. The issue is the auditing of the billing. The
Item
IMA,
6 says that they may revise them.
It says they may recommend. Doesn't
I
say
don't
that-
see, I don't see recommend.
Well, frankly, either CPA group can rewrite a document as the IMA.
But they'd be rewriting it for the selectmen, not for us.
You got that right, and we're paying for it.
Well, because we don't have anything to do with the IMA.
I understand for the actual agreement of the IMA.
My point is that why should we be paying them? Let the selectmen pay them.
Because it's our IMA. The selectmen
But
in their role.
it isn't our IMA, it's the selectmen's IMA.
The selectmen takes care of contracts for everything in the town of Wareham. Everything.
A
And when
minute
they
ago,
re-
you just said that we didn't have anything to do with
That's
the
right, when they
IMA,
re-
the selectmen did it.
That's right, when they redid the new, at the town meeting, they took that authority and gave it to the selectmen. Absolutely. IMAs, contracts, negotiations with union members, that's the selectmen. It always will be, that's the reality of it. But this board
Fine.
is responsible for policies and of the enterprise. And so I don't understand your question. I don't understand where you're going with it. I really don't. I think it's black and white, the roles. And now you're saying you have no role, and you never did. When you took the job, you didn't have a role. When you took responsibility, you didn't have a role in the IMA. We made that decision years ago, this board.
So we don't have any role in the
And the
IMA.
writing of the IMA. And
Okay.
the implementation of the IMA is done by the.
If we don't have any, if we don't have any writing of the IMA, then why do we have to pay these people to revise it?
Because it's coming out of the enterprise funding, because it's for the enterprise.
I believe we're gonna have input into this IMA, the new one.
You have input, you can't write it, and then that's gonna be.
We can write it. We can write any damn thing we
It's
want.
It's anything, and it has to be signed and endorsed by the selectmen.
That's the different story. We can write it. If they endorse it, then
it's
accept
fine,
it.
However you choose to do it,
but,
absolutely.
you know, we can write it, and I'm planning on writing the next one that we have,
Well, I was hoping
and
that
presenting that.
I was hoping the input of the engineers and the CPAs and all that would be.
I don't know that you want
important.
engineers.
Well, they do the flow calculations. The CPAs will do the numbers applied to the flow calculations. So
Well, I
it
mean,
should be a group effort.
I agree with that, but I mean, I think that document, the new document, whenever that comes about, needs to come out of here, with this agreement
I have no
here.
problem with that. I
And
agree with that.
then it goes to the
I
selectmen
don't
for
want this open-ended.
ratification. Well, I don't particularly care for the open-ended aspect of it either, other than the fact that I realize that Derek is definitively involved in this at the moment.
I
With Bourne, so-
kind of feel the way you do. Hey, listen, we have no input, we have no say. Why should we even vote on it? Why aren't the selectmen?
That's why don't understand why we should pay for it.
Well, we're gonna pay for it no matter what, because it's gonna come out of the enterprise fund. But, if this goes sour in any way, you know whose names are gonna be on it.
I know one name that's not.
I'm just telling you,
I don't second this.
okay.
And even with the the second, then we're gonna have to table it, because
Or you can suck it out of necessity and vote on it. That's your right.
It can what?
Or you can table- out of necessity, you can second it. That's your right,
I
Robert's
can,
rules. You
as I
can
said, I
suck it
can
out of
second,
necessity,
but
and then you can
you don't
vote on
have, you don't have a majority vote.
You got 3 people.
I know, but you had 5 on the committee, so you need a vote of 3.
You need a vote, there's 5 on the board, but when you do any business,
You
the
still need a vote of 3.
You get 2 out of 3. You can go to genders, and you can look at minutes
I
forever.
believe so, I got
It's always been, that's how
nailed
it's
on
done.
that.
And if you're gonna wait for a full board, then you might as well stop meetings until you get a full
Well,
board.
if we get,
You can't vote on anything.
if we get 3,
But if
a
you
3,
have 3,
4.
you have 3 members. You vote on everything. You vote on a lot of things with 3 members. We've done it in the past. Heck, we voted on,
Only one that's been unanimous approval. That's the only reason it's
so
gone
there's no
through, is
2-1s?
because
There's never will be a 2-1?
there hasn't been on this board.
I
There
don't know.
should be.
should, absolutely.
We've had 3 people
We've
here
had
before
2-1s
voted on
before.
stuff.
So it says,
We
Yeah,
have.
but it's always come out 3-0.
no, let me look it up.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any difference if it comes out 3-0 or if it comes out 2-1 or if it comes out,
It
if
does-
it comes
it-
out 1-2. It doesn't matter.
It does, because if you have got a board of 5, your majority vote is 3. You need 3 majority for quorum.
No, I think if you have a quorum, the majority.
Okay, I don't know for sure, so I'll pass on that one. But
How,
But I'll second this anyhow, because I know we've
how
got to go
about we,
forward
how
with it.
about we talk to, how about we see the IMA and talk to the selectmen and find out exactly where they stand on it?
You've seen the,
I mean-
I've seen the IMA. You've seen the IMA, haven't you?
no.
We've never
I've got
seen
it.
it?
I've got,
It's in our book. It's in our book.
I've got,
They gave us, yeah. It's
I've got
in
a,
there.
Everything's in the
It's
book.
right in that
So
book.
where's the bone of contention in the IMA?
The billing.
it's all,
This is all about the
This is just
billing.
just about the
It's
billing.
just a billing question. They're saying the billing should be one way, we're saying it should be another way. That's all, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
And then, so the CPAs are gonna come to some kind of conclusion on what the billing's going to be. That's all, it's about billing and billing only. That's it.
So they're not disagreeing with the black and white, they're disagreeing with the,
Semantics within the black and white.
Yeah, that's all.
in other words, they're disagreeing with the numbers that you give them.
They're
Yes.
disagreeing, no, what they're
With the
disagreeing
process.
What is the process? What they're saying is that I bill for 8 employees, I should be billing for only 3 or 4. So they're paying for 8 telephones and
What does the IMA say?
The IMS says, it says workers. It doesn't delineate one way or the other. And that's where the confusion comes in. And our accountants say, no, you guys are right there saying no. So we're gonna let them decide on what's the right way of billing. That's all, that's what it comes down to. They're questioning the capital's in there. What's the breakdown of the capital? So we'll vet it all, and I think that's what the CPA is gonna do, and they'll put their language, come down with some reasonable agreements, okay, this is what this is, that's what it is. Again, it was a document written by engineers, that's being audited by CPAs, and it's 2 different languages. And we were trained by the engineer. We are following their engineer's guidelines on this document. Now they have a CPA who disagrees with their engineer's guideline on this document. So we've just done what we're asked to do. It's their billing, it's everything was provided to us. And we're following the procedures trained by them.
I guess it's just backwards that we should be approving it, and we have nothing to say about it in the first place. So, my only point is, I don't mind approving something that I have something to say over. And I mean, I think we need to approve this at this point, but I just think that, hey, why aren't the Board of Selectmen just doing this? That we don't even have a Board of Selectmen person that comes in and consults with us or advises with us. If we're supposed to be working with them, we don't work with them. We don't, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, and I just think, why should we be on the hook for something that we're not responsible for? Again, but I don't want to tie up progress either, because it seems like it takes a very long time to get any progress.
Sure.
And I'm trying to work in the spirit of good faith here. And I think, Peter, I think the problem is a lot deeper than what you're looking in. To make a stand on this particular situation, you're doing it at the wrong time. That's just my opinion here, I mean.
Donna's made a motion, I have the motion. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
one opposed.
Is that is that an opposition or a buy?
Abstain.
Okay. 2-1-0. Okey-doke.
Mr. Chairman, maybe it would be helpful if we talked with Mr. Sullivan, or
Yep.
if he came in and or even have somebody from the Board of Selectmen, so that I mean,
I will talk to him and see if we're gonna get
we all
somebody at
work
this
for
next meeting.
I mean, we all live in the same town, we should all be on the same page for the ratepayers when it comes to the sewer. And I think that it would be nice to have a little bit of continuity, because I believe there's no continuity whatsoever here. I've never seen a selectman here, I've never talked to a selectman, or I've never talked to Mr. Sullivan that's been here. And maybe it would be helpful, I'd like to think that we're helpful to them, and if we're gonna be an advisory board or policy board or whatever, they should at least meet with us occasionally.
I can't speak for Mr. Sullivan, but I believe he has every intention, if once we get past this, to bring everything to the boards for vetting, whatever, but I think we need to get through this process, and I really believe he has every intention, the next step, to involve everybody.
Do you understand my frustration?
I understand your
I mean,
frustration totally.
you know,
It's just been too long.
It has, and I just feel like, I know the wheels of government go slow, but I'm just at an impatient point. But I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in either, and I do want to work in the spirit of cooperation with everyone. I mean, I'm certainly not looking to be not cooperative, but I want, if I'm going to sit on a board and I'm going to be part of a board and I'm going to be part of something, I'd like to at least, even though if I'm not making a decision, understand what they're doing and how they're doing this and why they're doing it. And I can intelligently vote. That's all I'm looking for.
Okay. Anything else? All right, we have
I think we beat it up enough.
liaison reports. Next meeting, the next 3 meetings, October 12th.
Ooh, you write it down, I don't remember you.
10, 12, okay,
October 12th?
yeah.
October 12th, oh, that's not a holiday, is it? I know it's a Columbus Day, but it's not.
October 9th, I believe, is
It's the
Columbus
9th,
Day.
okay, so that's,
It's a
I
Monday,
didn't,
think
yeah, I
we-
did, right.
Holiday's gotta be convenient.
26th,
10/26?
right. And it's either 11/9 or 11/23, which is Thanksgiving. 11/9, so there's 3 of them.
Yeah, 11, I believe you'd be out of Thanksgiving. That 23 may be scary the next, that's in that range of Thanksgiving. I don't know how that.
Yeah, I know, I don't know what it is either.
I make a motion that we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? And we're
Aye.
adjourning at 7:15.